Okay, so we have a new children's fantasy story from Vision, right? Now it is well, there's two titles floating around. Keeper of the Five Kingdoms, right? That's how it was sent to me. But it may have changed its title now to Patsy Lee and the Keepers of the Five Kingdoms. Okay, that's what it is possibly looking like. It's from Zack Ward, who co-wrote the story with James Hong and Ace Underhill. The film is produced by James Hong, Ace Underhill, co-produced by James Cullen Brezak, associate produced by Aria C. Yang, and line produced by Christian Ackerman. Ace Underhill took care of the cinematography. Zack Ward edits the piece. James Cullen Brezit took care of the casting. Aileen Shipshma was art direction. Costume design is Christine Costanza. Hair, makeup, mold makers, special effects. We have Lucille Gollon, Clara Gonzalez Gaza, Laurie Halleck, Mackenzie Kelly, Martha Phelan, Roxanne Pike, Hannah Schneck, and Eileen Shipamzama. Right, our cast. Well, we have got James Hong. He's down with the writing, the producing. He's also one of the stars of the film as Chuck Lee, grandfather to Patsy Lee, played by Michelle Mao. And Chuck is father to Donna's husband, right? And Donna being Patsy's mum. Donna is played by Fiona Renee, right? So Patsy has her best friend, Squirrel, aka Susan. She is played by Anna Harr. There is Hopper, played by Matthew Sato. Hopper's got a younger sister that works with Patsy's uncle. That's Maddie. She is played by Marissa Kapvayak. Takia Crystal Kima plays Mrs. Lorraine, right? Who is a big fan of Chuck's, right? We've also got Frank, played by Dante Basco. His buddy Hank, played by Dave Sheridan. There's Kuang, right? She's played by Bai Ling. Alora, played by Saxon Shabino. There's Trader Joe, played by Zach Albright. Who else do we have? Ao the Wise, played by George Tacky. Megan, played by Aries Underhill. The voice of Trader Joe was Geddy Wantabi. Aria C. Yang is the cemetery guard. Scarlett Focus is played by Courtney Robinson. Vampy is played by Scooch Hopkins. Kurt, played by Carl Haas. Ray the Bull, played by Lombardo Boya. Right, the Woo Witch, played by John Bailey. Human Vampy played by Spencer Biak. That's it, right? The gist of the story is this: when Patsy Lee discovers an ancient relic box, she has no idea that it will transport her grandfather, and her friends in systems and destroys the entire world. Oh boy. All right. Now, Zack Ward has this to say. All right. This movie is my love letter to the 80s fantasy films I adored as a kid, like The Goonies, Dark Crystal, and Big Trouble in Little China. I worked with winning FX artist for years, so I was able to combine the classic practical FX with new VFX and Unreal Engine world building digital technology to create a modern fairy tale with comedy and heart for the whole family. Um, yeah, James Hong, he said, it was a great pleasure to have worked with such young and talented actors. It was as if I jumped into the midst of the making of the older films like The Goonies. Young talents have that wonderful quality of just abandoning themselves into the role. In acting with them, I couldn't help but just jump into their pace and world. Now and then I would ad lib dialogue to find to them like, let's go, it's time to save the world. This typifies the feeling I had. Very exhilarating. I trust the audience will react the same way. They must see this wonderful feature film, Keepers of the Five Kingdom, because it will lift them up in spirit, love, and adventure. Right. So yeah, there we go. Now, this film, right, I've got to say, it's for the younger audience. You know what I mean? It's not made for me. It's for the younger audience. If you liked my evil fairy queen, right, or Princess Hale and the Jester, then this works for you, especially Princess Hale and the Jester, because like that film, they do use a lot of like, as mentioned, Unreal Engine, CGI, right? Computer tech, which can be a bit jarring. Like there are practical effects like the turtle and Trader Joe, right? So they're using actual puppets. Now it's not Jim Henson, right? It's not that quality, but that's fine, right? You know what I mean? There's only one Jim Henson, you know what I mean? So that's fine. It can, and as I say, it can work for a younger audience. And the key messages of this film, right? Love, friendship, how they can overrule everything, save the day. That's very clear. That's very clear. And that's nice, right? I think for an older audience, though, it could be a bit simplistic in how certain things are resolved, right? The end, right? The situation in the pit. We have these perils, right? This danger, this overwhelming danger, but it's over like that. It's very quick, right? Which does feel a bit anticlimactic, but for a very young kid, I'm sure it would work, right? Because they don't understand the complexities of life, right? So I think you can look at it with different eyes. So that's why I believe this film is for those young kids, right? Those some wholesome fun for the young kids. I don't, and because of that, I don't really feel we needed the whole love element of the story, which felt very much tacked on. I don't believe we really got any true evidence of this thing building, right? It just felt like, oh, you know what? Let's have these people, you know what I mean, fall in love. That's what it felt like. So it was a bit of one of those things that we don't need that, right? Just have a story, right? Have a story featuring these characters doing a thing, right? Friends works, especially, because it's aimed at that young audience. Like, they're not thinking about love, right? A little kid, a 5-year-old, isn't thinking about love, but they've got best friends, right? They've got that friend group. So that's the story. You know what I mean? I don't remember love being in the Dark Crystal, right? I hate the Goonies. Maybe there's a love element in the Goonies. I don't know, right? But yeah, I don't think it needed to be there. Also, when we're doing a fantasy world, right? It's always a bit like a letdown when you have people with names like Joe, right? You're setting up this new world. Invent new names. You know what I mean? Invent new things. They don't need to drink tea. They can have all manner of weird concoctions, right? Let your mind run wild. That's the joy of fantasy worlds. And also, we have Patsy and Squirrel playing computer games. So it's just like they and they're playing fantasy games. You know what I mean? It's not like they're playing Call of Duty or anything. So they understand a lot about that kind of genre. So it's kind of odd that there's such a dear reliance on face value with a lot of the interactions when you just think, okay, if you understand this kind of thing, you would be a bit more hesitant. You know what I mean? That was a thing. But yeah, I think, as I said, look, it will be fine for kids, right? I think that everyone probably had fun in producing this, in making this. The dialogue could be stronger, right? You can see there's a lot of acting to green screens, which is difficult, right? That's a difficult thing. Not everyone's great at it. And maybe this is a lot of people's first times because some of the reactions do feel a little bit, you know what I mean? A little bit forced, a bit overcooked. But, we got young people here. It's a young cast. So we'll see how they develop. We'll see how they grow, But if you think maybe Labyrinth, Dark Crystal, right, these kind of things might be a bit old for your kids. They're not quite ready for those films, those classics. Then something like Patsy Lee and the Keepers of the Five Kingdom, yeah, that might fill that void for you. Okay. So it is dropping on Tuesday, the 18th of June, right? So you'll be able to find it on all your favorite VODs. And remember, if you were a fan, if your kids enjoyed Princess How and the Jester and My Evil Fairy Queen, then people, they will most likely enjoy Patsy Lee and the Keepers of the Five Kingdoms. So mark the 18th down. Is you can use this to keep them busy. Keep them busy for an hour and 40 minutes. So yeah, there you go. Keepers of the Five Kingdom.